Well, 53 years ago this week, I learned how not to hunt lions. And I figured there's some of you here who probably need to know something about hunting lions. Might just happen to you. And I came here first, and it was 53 years this week. The first patient on the ward was a lady who had been attacked by a lioness in her village out in her garden. And the lioness, with two cubs, had decided that she'd come too close to where she was staying while she was picking her corn. And the lioness hit her with her nice claws and took her shoulder and split it in half. She was 12 kilometers from Tchincombe. Didn't arrive for 12 hours after being split by a lioness. The children had saved her life by calling out and scaring off the lioness and her cubs. So I got to the ward, walking around the first corner, and there's this lady, 4 days post-op, and she's got Penrose drains coming out sundry places and pus coming out sundry places. And oh my goodness, I couldn't imagine how this lady had survived. She had a cut about yay long on her back that had split her scapula right through to her ribs, and how she survived was only God's grace. Well, about 4 days after that, we get a call from the Soba out at Kavango's village saying, my best pig's been killed by what looks like a lion. And 3 days after that, from the village at Chilonda, as you're going down towards the Huila province, at the corner there, Chief comes in and says, oh, my best heifer's been stolen. And the lion has come into our cattle kraal, jumped over the 8-foot fence, taken the heifer in his mouth, and dragged the heifer into the bush a whole kilometer. And we walked out there, and all we could find was ears and hooves of the heifer. There was nothing to find to go and create a trap, because we figured, we know how to hunt lions. We'll make a trap, we'll put it in the middle of the kraal, and we'll be there that night and we'll shoot it. Nope, there's nothing there to put. So 3 more days go by, and the lion comes back, and this time takes 2 nice heifers, and this time the chief comes and says, but you have to come and hunt the lion. You just can't let this lion keep coming every other night. So my brother Stacy and me and my dad, we go to the Portuguese guy at the corner store, which is all about 3 kilometers from what the mission is now. There's the ruins of that corner store. And the Portuguese guy, he had an 18-year-old son, and he had a 7.62 millimeter rifle. And my dad had a 375, and he had a 22 Hornet, and we had a 12-gauge shotgun. We figured, well, we got enough guns, and we had a light, and we had a battery from the Land Rover. Because the guy said, the real way to go hunting around here for the lion isn't waiting for the lion to come to your cattle kraal. What you have to do is know where the lion is sleeping. Now, if you know where the lion's sleeping, you go out and you follow him and you see him and you shoot him where he's sleeping. Oh, really? Well, okay. The Portuguese guy thought that was a great idea. His son thought it was a great idea. My dad thought it was a great idea. I thought it was a great idea. My brothers thought it was a great idea. So we armed ourselves. We had a guy carrying the battery on his head. We had a guy with a great big 12-volt light walking through the bush because he had seen where the lion was staying. And he knew where we were going to see the lion. And we walked and we walked and we walked through the bush, and the grass was up here, taller than any of us. And we're pushing down the grass, walking through the bush. And the guy says, "Oh, we're getting close. We're getting close. The lion's going to be right here." "Oh, really? How are we going to see the lion?" "Oh, you'll see his eyes, doctor." "Oh, you will? Oh." And all of a sudden we come into a little clearing, and there are two eyes. And the guy with the light and the battery on the head says, "Look there, doctor. Look, right there, right there." I had a 4-power scope on the 375. I go looking through the scope. Sure can't see the lion's head. All I can see is his eyes. And they're red eyes. I'd been reading a book that said you're supposed to have yellow eyes. But the guy said, no, it's right there. Shoot. So, you know, I put a bullet into the chamber. I took it off safety, and I went, and I just about ready to shoot, and all of a sudden those eyes went straight up in the air. Man, I didn't know lions had vertical takeoff capacity. As they went straight up in the air. Then it turned out to be a bird. It wasn't a lion at all. Well, when I found my heart, it was somewhere up here. It had gone back down in my chest. And I turned to the guy. I said, "You don't know the difference between a bird and a lion. How can we trust you to be taking us to where lions are?" Oh, doctor. So he said, after 3.5 hours of walking in the bush, and it was getting on about 10 o'clock at night, "Why don't we go back?" Well, the Portuguese guy and his son started telling us a story about what had happened to his cousins in BA province the year before. 5 guys had gone lion hunting just like we had. And after about an hour's walk in the bush, one of them wanted to stop for a smoke. So he stopped for a smoke, and they all had a smoke, and they started looking around. I thought we were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us. There's only 4 of us. Well, I guess the guy went back to the car. So the other 4 guys keep on walking. After another half an hour, they stop for another smoke. This time there's only 1, 2, 3. At that point, they decided maybe we should find a tall tree and get up there really quickly. So the 3 boys climbed the trees. They stayed the whole night in the top of the tree. Light came. They crawled down from the top of the tree, retraced their steps, and found the boots of number 4. That was all that was left of them. And then found the belt of the number 1 guy. And boy, did we hasten our walk back to the car. And none of us wanted to be in the end of the line. And we started walking parallelly through the bush because nobody wanted to be number 4 or number 5. So if you want to go lion hunting, don't go at night with a light on your head and think that night jars are lions. It doesn't quite work that way. And you may well end up becoming the bait for the lion and becoming the food for the lion. Because lions, one thing about them is they're hungry, and suckers like me are good beat. We had a bulletproof solution. We went back to the cattle kraal and we bought a heifer and we tied it so it couldn't run away. And we found an anthill on which to park. The Land Rover didn't have any starter motor, so it was much better to have an anthill on which to start. And so we would back up on the back of the anthill in low range, and then when you needed to start, you could just let the thing roll down the hill. So we got to the village about 10 o'clock at night, talking with the guys, where should we put the angle of the shot so nobody gets hurt. The crawl's here, the animal that we tied is right there. We could put our searchlight in the right angle. We could wait. And so we're talking all about all this, our plan. And then next thing that happens is that the lion opens his mouth and roars. Well, I have never heard an African village go absolutely quiet. Like the bullfrogs stop croaking, the dogs stop yapping, the people stop talking. Absolute quiet. With one mention of the lion's voice. My knees started to shake. My hands started to involuntarily move in every direction. I could not move the bolt of the rifle and put a bullet in the chamber. If that lion had been for me to Norman, I could no more have shot it than stood up. It was all I could do to hold on to the Land Rover. I was shaking so hard. Stacy and I climbed up on the top of the Land Rover, and if anyone you ever spent a July night on an aluminum skinned Land Rover with nothing in between you and the aluminum skin of the Land Rover, we froze. At 2 o'clock in the morning, I said to Stacy, we got an operating room thing to do in the morning. I got to get out of here. And we went home. 6 o'clock that morning, the lion came back into the village and scared the ladies that were carrying water at 6 a.m. at the first light into their village, but did no harm to anybody, and that was the last we heard of the lion. He or she decided to move on to some other place because I think she figured out that maybe we were going to catch up with her. But I've never been so impressed with the verse that says what Peter says. What does the devil do? Goes about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour, and he puts so much fear into us, we can't even control our bowels, let alone our knees. So beware when you go lion hunting.